So before we get started, I want to make sure that everyone is aware we've got some other webinars coming up in November. So please keep your eyes peeled, because I know you've seen in the last email that I sent one on banking that's set for November 4th. We've actually got, I've been on the phone, I've been on the horn, pretty busy getting other things set up. So we've got some stuff, other stuff planned for some other dates in November, and even one into December. One specifically on tax and accounting and legal best practices there. Another one, different one on banking. So the next one coming up on November 4th is just a general cannabis banking, educational only, to kind of give you an idea of what to look for and best practices in cannabis banking. Credit Union One, who happens to be doing cannabis banking in Illinois, will be doing another one for us. It's not even on our website yet, so it'll be up in the next day or so. That's going to be on November 10th. On November 19th, we're going to do the one on taxes and accounting and legal. And then on November 17th, we are looking at one about the pending litigation, the lawsuits that are happening in both the dispensaries and also the lawsuits that were filed for growers and infusers, to be able to give you some background detail on what's happening with those, how it's going to impact you, what's expected to happen. There's actually a decision that should be coming down on the dispensary lawsuits, one of the dispensary lawsuits, because I believe there's more than one. One of the dispensary lawsuits that should be, I think, at the end of next week. So definitely a good one to log into, just so that everybody is aware of what is going on, and able to get some information from one of the attorneys who's actually involved in one of the lawsuits. So today's session is about Biotrack, and we have representatives from Biotrack, specifically John and Soren, who will be presenting to us to talk about Biotrack and what it does and whatnot, and I'll let them tell you more about what they're going to cover. And then there's also another software that is going to be demoed called Canalytics. So with that being said, I'm going to stop my camera and I am going to turn over to John. But before I do that, if you have questions as we go along, please type your questions in the Q&A box. And then that way we will cover all of the questions at the end, and I will make sure that your questions get answered. So don't type them in the chat, because they might get lost in the chat. But if you type them in the Q&A, then it gives me the ability to go through the question queue and then answer the questions and then remove all of the questions after they've been answered. So it's a good way to really track all of the questions. So without further ado, I will turn things over to John at Biotrack.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tricia, and thank you for putting this together. Definitely excited to introduce some folks to the system, explain the role we're going to play, etc. So my name's John Jacobs. I'll be going through this first part, giving a PowerPoint presentation. I'll then be kicking it over to Soren. He's going to do a Biotrack demo to show you what the system actually looks like. And then, like she said at the end, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. We won't be reviewing any pricing or anything around the system or high-level informational things. So just wanted to disclose that right off the bat. So we hope everyone on the meeting is doing very well. While you await your license, we hope you all get one, obviously. We're obviously excited for this process to move forward, to suit the demand that there is up there for recreational cannabis, it's obviously a very exciting market. So the purpose of this presentation is to give you some content that will help you better prepare for what is coming up there in Illinois, and to obviously just introduce you to our team here at Biotrack. We work with the state closely. We work with many licensees there in Illinois. So just, happy to connect with you all, provide any sort of education that we can, and just happy to meet you guys overall. So we'll jump into the presentation here. This is the agenda. We're going to go over who we are as a company, why this is important. We'll go over some hardware specifications and review, and that'll help paint a picture for what Soren shows you in the demo. And then we have another product as well. It's called Canalytics, so we'll be showing that at the end. This is who we are as a company. We are the Illinois Traceability Software Vendor. So we're contracted with the government and have been since the early days of the medical program to deploy the software used in the market. You can see the steps over there on the right-hand side, and this is a visualization of what Soren will be clicking through during the demo. But from a high level, the cannabis traceability system, it tracks every gram throughout the legal supply chain, helps them enforce regulations, collect taxes, prevent any illegal cannabis diversion or inversion from entering or exiting the supply chain. So this is a system that allows you to run your business every day, but from a high level, every gram is tracked through the software to make sure everything is accounted for. Brief, we can go through this a little bit, but it all starts with cultivation, whether tissue culture, plants, seeds, or clones, something will originate in the system. You'll take those plants all the way through their life cycles, phase change information, nutrient addition, harvesting, etc. During harvest, you'll collect different materials, still have to record and collect weights for waste just to ensure that everything is accounted for. Post-harvest, you'll be creating lots that will in turn be tested and then be eligible to be sold out into the market. And like I said, Soren will be clicking through this process, but those are the basic steps of what every single seed clone will go through on its way to the dispensaries. Couple reasons why this is important. Primarily, it reduces your risk of fines or license revocation. Every single industry has inventory management, supply chain management, and data that makes sure products are accounted for throughout. That's especially important here in cannabis. We're underneath a microscope. We have to be able to prove that we're operating ethically and transparently. So that's why it's so important to track everything down to each gram. You'll see inside of the system, but you can configure permission settings, so you'll limit who has access to what features in the system, most likely reserve more sensitive actions for more trusted operators in your business. This will also be communicating directly with the state system. Everything's tied together. Other than reducing your risk in terms of compliance, it also helps optimize operational efficiency. The system is custom. Everyone does things differently, has different strains, has different rooms, has different workflows. So you'll be able to have some flexibility within the system around your individual business while still abiding by the state requirements for reporting. We'll also get into the hardware, but that helps speed things up, increase data entry accuracy and speed, but hardware in terms of scales and scanners, that helps make things more efficient as well. The third reason that this system is important is it collects business intelligence data. We all know that data is so valuable nowadays, and you need it. in order to run a smart business, make decisions, and ultimately be successful. So the data in this system can be used for you to recognize trends, tweak your processes within your business, and ultimately make data-driven decisions. So for the hardware, mentioned it a little bit earlier, but it reduces data entry errors due to manual input. So as we're going through the software during the demo, he'll be clicking around in the system, but in real life, you may be holding a tablet or scanning a plant or scanning multiple plants, throwing those onto a scale to in turn populate a number within the software. So there's multiple different setups that you can have and scenarios that you guys will need to think about for what's best for your grow, but know that it offers multiple advantages in terms of speed, data accuracy, auditing, etc. I'm going to pull up our list just real quick, and we can send this content over after the demo, no problem, but this list outlines our hardware. Multiple different options on label printers, depending on the size, different fields you want displayed on each label in addition to a barcode. There's multiple different types here of printers and labels. If you want a waterproof label, a slip tag that goes around the plant, just think of what's best for you. Also, scanners integrate corded, wireless, also scales. So we'll send this list over. We don't supply any of this equipment directly. You could source things locally, contact one of our trusted hardware vendors, but know that for the business, you may need to acquire certain pieces of hardware. Okay, with that, thank you guys for letting me do the intro. I think my piece is over, and I'm going to kick it over to Soren.
All right, thank you, John. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, I just want to confirm that my screen is visible. John, can you confirm on your end, please?
Yes, absolutely, we can see it.
Perfect. All right, so I'll jump right into it. This is already the logged in interface of the licensee side. So I'm actually already, again, logged in. You'll be given access via a state-controlled website. The URL, the UBI, the license number, and other details which are needed for your as credentials to log in into the system will be provided from the State Department to Biotrack. Once Biotrack adds the new licensee or the new location to the system, then you will be notified via an automated, auto-generated email through the system. The primary contact, which usually is just one email address that's provided to us, will receive that, and then they would use, again, the UBI, what we call that to be the unique business identifier, the license number, and the username. The username and password can be reset at any time. Once you log in, this is the interface that you would see. The first action that usually users do is go to the administration tab, goes right away to the users tab, and add and modify any additional users they would like. So this is modifiable in a way that you can control if they're an administrator or not, if they can perform certain actions or not. And I should mention that this interface that you're seeing is the state tracking database. This is the source of truth. This is whether a licensee is using one third-party point of sale system or a grow system. All of that data is connected and sent through the API to this centralized database. And this centralized database is the minimum product, you can say, that will allow you to stay compliant within the state laws and regulations. So it has many differences between our commercial side, mainly reporting, data analytics, being able to modify things multiple at a time, harvest and cure multiple at a time. So what you're going to see today is me doing those actions one at a time, because again, this is a minimum compliant platform, again, controlled and provided by the State Department with our support, with Biotrack support. So again, I'm already logged into the interface. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be acting as a craft grower. And the main difference between craft growers and craft infusers are going to be right here on the top left-hand corner, where you see those two different tabs. Craft growers will have access to the cultivation and inventory tab. Infusers will only have access to the inventory, because in the cultivation tab is where you have your plants. This is where you perform your harvesting, curing, and send it further down to processing once the flowers are dried and so on. So again, the process is we'll go through harvest and cure. We'll bring the products into our processing side of the system, which is in our inventory side. We'll go through a conversion where we have 3 subcategories of conversion stages that you would have to go through, from flower lot to intermediate product stage and to end product stage. And important thing to note is that end product stage is what the state law allows, whether you're a craft grower or craft infuser, to be for the products to be considered as a final ready product, which will be represented in units. That is only when the products are eligible for to be transferred to retailers, whether it's going to be a dual license retailers or just adult use dispensaries. Again, that is done only as a final product. And of course, I'll go through the process of the testing requirements, and I'll show you how that's done as well. So I just mentioned about the cultivation in the inventory tab. The reports, you may notice, we have a few reports available to you, but again, our commercial system has a much more robust and analytics reporting tool that will be best suited for your needs, of course, to give you a little bit more insight and detail into your daily operation. We have our transfers, manifest, and quality assurance tab, respectively. Transfers, of course, you'll see what was transferred to you and from. Manifests, they simply display the manifest, which is a generated PDF. That's like a legal document, just in case your drivers are stopped at any point between the transport. And the quality assurance tab is where your samples for lab results are be listed. So you'll get a list of pending or past QA products over there. On the right-hand side, you'll see shortcuts. We have transfer inventory, creating of products. So this is where you create your product name and you assign it to each product. Rooms, of course, as you create rooms on the right side, they will be listed right here. Of course, each licensee has its own way of creating rooms. Some just create rooms and put products inside based on where their intended end destination is. And that's just the way that you guys would choose to run your business. That's up to you. Vehicles, being able to search within the system, just type in any barcodes and just be able to find it instantly. Employees that are within your location, any vendors that you're doing business with. Vendors is we have a preferred vendors list. This is something that's controlled, registered, populated by the State Department. So a licensee doesn't have the ability to add vendors or to remove vendors. Licensee can only do business with from a selected vendors list, which you see in my vendors list pop up here. All right, so we'll start with the cultivation process. As you may notice, the inventory side all has a different way of showing rooms. The cultivation side has all of its room displayed right here. And again, this is a testing environment. So depending on how I chose to use my rooms and operations is, I have it as a drying room, a veg room, flower room, again, customizable to your liking. I'm just going to go right into our veg room. You may notice a list of plants, which shows the 16-digit identifier for the plants, which is our barcode, the strain, the phase that it's in, and the age, meaning how many days that I've had it in my system, and it's been growing, as you can see the phase as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of these plants And as soon as I double click on it, I'm viewing on the modified plant screen where I can see again a few details, what strain it is, what room it's in, when was its birthday, which means when was it inserted into the system, whether it's a mother plant or not. I can transfer it, of course, to other craft growers, craft infusers. I can print or destroy it for any reason. Destruction is a process that's very regulated within the state. Destruction and adjustment is, I should say. This is where you would select the reasons, and we have a few categories and subcategories of reasons, and a free-form text right here, which you would type in just about any reason that the destruction is taking place for, and of course, anything and everything that you type here and select here within this pop-up is what's going to be reported to the State Department, and they can at any point pull up and see the reason of your destruction. So we will not destroy this product. What we're going to do is we're going to start the harvesting process. Yes, I would like to start the harvest process. And the first step is the system is asking me to enter the flour's wet weight. So we'll start with, let's say, 1,000 grams of flour. Other material lots, let's do 500. I may have chosen too many zeros. Okay, and then of course any waste that may come of it. In this stage, let's not select any waste. Additional collection buttons allows you to cut down part of the plant. Of course, is a process that a lot of times is done at grows. So you can actually choose to partially harvest, let some part of it, start drying. Some of it is still growing. So you can do this additional collections at any time, as many times as you'd like. So I'll go ahead and finish it. So we're going to go ahead and harvest the full plant. Once it's done, as you can see, the phase is now changed to drying. So we're going to reselect this product. Now we have this cure button here. We're going to go ahead and enter the dry weight of the flour. So because it may have some moisture loss, let's just cut it straight down to half. Let's do 500 for the flour. And then we'll do about 250 for the other material. And let's say we have 10 grams of waste. And again, of course, the same process, which is during the harvest. You may notice the additional collections button right here, which shows that you can, of course, let some part of that already drying but batch to be still, remaining, so you can separate it. And of course, again, you can do this as many times as you need to. So we're going to finish the process. Once I finish, the plant ID is no longer within my cultivation side, and I can move on to my inventory. As you can notice, these are different product types that are represented in the system. We have flour, other material, flour lots, and so on. As I click on the left side of it, it will open all of the barcodes with a few details which I have in my system regarding those products which are now in my inventory. So as you may notice, I have that SC Slimer flour that I just harvested and cured. It is now a flour. And from here on, where again is now the same process as craft infusers will pick up on, is what we call our conversion process. So this is a conversion stage process that the product must be carried through, and it has to go through each phase, which now we have the lot product phase, the intermediate product stage, and the end product stage. As you may see, there's different already specified different types of products, and you can of course choose the different stages to convert the product forward as it's being processed and packaged and tested. The product can be tested at any stage. However, the State Department has definitely noted that they do prefer that the testing is done as a lot product stage and as an end product stage. Otherwise, if the product is not tested, it will not be eligible for transferring to a retail location. So I'll simply not go through the process of conversion. I'll just do one, and then we can just jump right ahead to once we already have an end product that is ready and eligible to be transferred. So let's say we will pick up one of our flour lots right here. Once the flour lot is selected, QA testing pop-up used, I can select the quantity that I'm going to send for the laboratory to be tested out of the batch that I have. I will select the lab that I will be sending to. And as you may notice, the QA test required panels are right below. These are not optional. These are required by the state, and the system is showing everything as a requirement. So they may not be deselected. So once you select OK, a new sample ID will be created. It will be represented, as you see, as a pending QA status. And that sample ID, which is now given a new barcode, which is attached to its original parent lot, is now ready to be transported to a laboratory where the lab accepts it, enters the result, and once the results are entered, you will have a past QA results and a potency analysis will be displayed on your screen. Once you have it, we can take that flower lot and convert it forward. So let's take that flower lot and we're going to go straight to the usable marijuana, which is a packaged marijuana product. So we will say that we're creating 100 units of the 100 grams, so 1 gram units. And let's just make it there you have it. So now I've converted from the flower lot. As you may notice, the batch that was listed as the parent lot is no longer there. It has now been converted into a, right here, a new identifier has also been assigned to it. So now it's an identifier starting with 299. As you may notice, I have quite a lot of products. Of course, this is my testing environment again, but what I'll do is the next stage is putting it on the transport manifest and sending it to a retail location. So the transport manifest creation tool is on the right-hand side. You, of course, have different options for regular manifest, pickup manifest, or third-party manifest. Just for the demo reasons today, I'll just go through a regular manifest. This is our transport manifest creation tool. The first thing you'll do is select the location that you're going to send to. So let's say we're going to select the 3C Compassionate Care Center we're sending it to. The system, based on the vendor's details, address that's already been added into the system by the State Department, will pre-populate the routes. The route is definitely a free text form field, so you can add or modify it in any way, but please keep in mind that any deviation from the routes can be interpreted by the police in case you're stopped in a not so favorable way. So please make sure that the data you enter here is correct, because once you enter the information here and the transport manifest is created, it will actually become a legal document, as I mentioned earlier. So we can select the date that the product is going to depart. The arrival dates, I'll simply leave it as it is, again, for just demo purposes. I can add as many stops as I would like, so I can send my driver to go to a different location. So again, for demo purposes, we'll just do one for this case. And for craft growers and craft infusers, because it's an adult use license, this button is going to be by default turned on. And of course, based on that button being highlighted, of course, it's such a small button, but it does carry a big importance because this is how the State Department kind of keeps track of your taxes. So they can see how much product was transferred, and based on that, of course, the taxes will be imposed. And as you may know, that the adult use taxes for wholesale transfers are different than medical transfer taxes. So let's go ahead and select the couple of products we would like to send. I'll just select a few random ones. I want to select my driver, the first driver and the second driver, the vehicle that I'm going to be sending them in. Let's send them in Tara's car, and I'm going to generate the manifest. Once the manifest is generated, you may notice that the system will automatically create that PDF, as you may see on the bottom of my screen. Let's go ahead and open that up. And once you create here you go. So once you created the manifest, this is that legal document that I was mentioning. It has all of the details regarding where it's going, who it's going from, what type of products are in that manifest, what are the barcodes. So in case, again, the police stop you or your driver, you may present this as a document, as a legal document that specifically says, I'm transporting these much units of marijuana. They are these type of products, and these are the barcodes which you may see they be represented on the PDF. As you may notice, the travel route is also listed there, and the vehicles, the transporter's ID, the signature, and the details of the vehicle, like the vehicle ID. So once that's done, I will go ahead and go to our transfer inventory screen. So we have different options. Of course, if you're expecting inbound shipments, or sending an outbound shipment, or if you have any rejected or received shipments, this is where you go through that process. So right now we're sending an outbound shipment. This is the one that we've just created for different products. We're sending it to 360 Compassionate Care. We'll click OK. And once you fill out the sales price, and again, this is what the State Department keeps an eye on, of course, for your wholesale transfers, the product will be on its way to the retail. And of course, the same process can apply if the product is being sent between one craft grower to another, or from craft growers to craft diffusers and back and forth. The state law doesn't prohibit you sending it and receiving it, so it can be done as many times as needed. And that should definitely conclude my portion of the demonstration. Again, just to summarize, we went through the process of craft growers. So we would create the plant, or we have an existing plant where we harvested and cured. We took those cured products and converted into a prepackaged usable marijuana. Once the marijuana was past QA, of course, during that 3 different stages we spoke about, the flower lot, the intermediate product stage, and the end product stage. Once it has passed QA and it's in units, it was placed onto a transferred manifest. A PDF was created, which again is that legal document that I keep mentioning about, and we've sent it out on its way to a retail location. And again, that would conclude just an overall overview of what a daily process would look like for a manager, an operation manager, or an employee of a craft grower or craft infuser license holder. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Soren. That was a great walkthrough. If you wouldn't mind stopping yours, and I'll take back control to show some of the data.
Of course. All right, there you go.
Okay. Perfect. Can you confirm that you're seeing my screen?
Yes, sir. I do see it.
Okay, great. Well, this is an analytics product called Canalytics that would come in tandem with and communicate with the Biotrack software. So as you saw, multiple data points are being recorded as you go through that process. It is worth noting that on the back end of the Biotrack system itself, you do have records back there. Who was doing what actions, who performed a harvest, who completed a transfer, when, at what time, etc. So all that raw data is held on the back end of Biotrack itself. You could access that data, export it to Microsoft Excel, print it out, view the reports in the software, but know that you have access to your own raw data through the back end of Biotrack. But then this product displays that data in more of a graphical format for higher level decision making and some deeper levels of analysis into the different data points that are collected. So I'll go through a couple of these here. What I do want to explain, though, is the data points are always dual purpose. There's always a compliant reason behind the data point, but also a reason for business intelligence as well. For example, removed plants. The state needs to know if you're removing all your plants. Thousands of plants every week, you're just removing them. You know, that's a good indication that things are being diverted elsewhere. But for internal reasons, I need to know when I'm removing my plants. Do I have a problem? Do I have a mold issue? Are things contaminating each other? Do I need to further and better segment my grow house rooms? So removed plants, you know, a compliant data point, as well as an internal data point. Same with moisture loss. You saw throughout the process that Soren weighed the plants wet whenever you first chopped them down to record a wet weight, and then weighed different byproducts after the plant was dry. So you collect wet weights in the system, you also collect dry weights. For compliance purposes, the state needs to know that. You can't be reporting 99% moisture loss on every harvest. Again, that's an indication that things could be diverted elsewhere outside of the legal supply chain. But for internal reasons, you need to know that as well. So which of my strains are losing the least amount of moisture through that process? Helps you prioritize those, because obviously weight is money in this business at the end of the day. A few other high-level data points: how many plants you have growing in the ground, visual breakdowns of that. So you can see if typically you have 40% of this strain. If you're off or you'd like to maintain a balance, it's easy to visualize here. You saw a box checked in Biotrack for mother plants. So those are important because they originate the source of a clone. But inside of Canalytics, it tells you how many children you've pulled off of each mother and the total weight harvested as well. So this helps you predict when to change your mother plants out to make sure you're maximizing yields of those clones. These are my favorite two graphs. This is a forecast that the system provides. So there's multiple different variables that go into this graph. It'd be the number of plants that you have in the ground, the average yields of that strain, and then the average time it takes to transition between its growth phases. But at the end of the day, what it does for you is provide a forecast. For example, here at the end of November, I'm anticipating to have 700 grams of this strain. So you'll get these questions all the time. When are you going to have this strain next? When do you anticipate to have this quantity of this strain on hand? Can I pre-order that strain? So this helps you, have the data to answer those questions. This one helps you prioritize which strains to plant. Ideally, you're planting strains that yield a lot of weight in a short amount of time. Conversely, if you have strains that are taking forever to grow and don't yield much, may want to consider flipping those out for the next time. So this just helps you plant the strains that are producing the most weight in the shortest amount of time. And there's obviously details within each of these, but from a high level, we're just helping you make decisions that'll maximize yields, increase productivity, and enhance visibility from a higher level business standpoint as well. This product is continuing to be developed. Obviously, it's a little bit more modern, but from a high level, Biotrack serves as your core, as your brain, as your compliance necessity on the back end for the day-to-day data entry. And then this helps you get further visualization into what's going on from a higher level. I want to put up our contact info. If you guys have any questions, I think Tricia is going to read a couple of those off potentially. But if you guys have questions about anything in particular, feel free to contact myself. I'm John Jacobs or Soren. This is my personal email. You could also call this number or email the sales team as well. We have a great team over here, more than welcome to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. So we do have a couple of questions already in the chat. And if anybody has any other questions, because typically what ends up happening is more questions start to chime in as we start to go through them, then I will make sure that those get answered as well. So I'm going to skip the anonymous question right now because it's not about Biotrack, but I will loop back to it. So Kevin asks, If it is a centralized database with the state, how does the license holder maintain backups of data and verify those backups?
Yes. So each licensee as well, if you're using our commercial software, will hold their database on your own server, whether that's a server on site, a desktop computer acting as that server. You will have a server of your own with your own database and your own data. In addition to that, we'll back up that database to a source of your choosing, whether that's a cloud server, a hard drive, or another location. We'll let you choose the source and the cadence of that backup and program the data feeds accordingly.
Okay. Okay, so then the next question was about something I stated at the beginning. So I was going through, and I know some people chimed in late. So I was going through some upcoming webinars that we're planning for November. They're not even on our site yet because I just had those conversations this week. So one of those is concerning the lawsuits, the pending litigation. So we will be having a webinar with one of the attorneys that is involved with one of the lawsuits to talk about both the dispensary lawsuits and what's going on with those, just like the latest information, because there's expected to be a decision on one of the dispensary lawsuits, and I know that there are multiple. There's expected to be a decision on one of those next week. And then we also have, there will be some information shared about the lawsuits that were filed on behalf of growers and infusers. So I will be sending out an email as soon as we get all of those up on our website and have the registration links available. But I was really just giving a heads up on, we got some more stuff coming down the pipe. So I think that answers that. Next question is, what type of problems have you had with your product?
I guess I can take that one. I wouldn't segment out any, issues, in particular, anything like that. The system is very reliable. Obviously, we deploy the system for the state as well. What I would say is that going off of this hardware list sets you up for success. So if you do get hardware that is up to spec, has the proper internet connections, storage specifications, processing speed, etc., that sets you up for success. If you try to deviate from this or cut any corners, we'll try and get it to work, but you really want to be going off this list and make sure the equipment is set up for success so the software can perform to its highest ability, I would say.
Okay, good answer. Next question is, what type of hardware is required for transporters?
John,
Soren, feel free to,
Yeah, I was going to say, let me jump on that. Well, for third-party transporters, well, let me start off with saying that there will be an existing license holders that will also be given a third-party transporter licenses along with their craft grower or along with their producer processor licenses. So if you are a standalone transporter, which means you do not have any other license that you hold within the state, then you will simply not have even an access to the system. The details that will be provided, such as your vehicle, your employees for your transport license, will be provided outside of the system to the licensees, which will use that data to be inserted into the system in order to use your services. So again, the answer is if it is a standalone, then not even a login into the system will be provided to you, and not even required for you to enter any data. So, which means no hardware will be needed for you. If you are a separate license holder as well, then all of the things that John just mentioned for your other license needs will be required.
Absolutely, Soren. And one point of clarification, just like what you said, but the cultivators will track the process through the system and generate the manifest, just like Soren did. The transporter will come pick up the product, take the manifest, the sheet of paper that was generated, and drive that to the dispensary. So no data entry, just moving paper and products.
Okay, next question is, do you have interface issues with any types of software?
I can take that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I can take that one. And, I'd say it's kind of a loaded question. Obviously we have out-of-the-box integrations with the state traceability portal, which is necessary. We also have integrations into Canalytics and certain pieces of equipment and certain integration partners as well. This doesn't communicate with every software that's out there ever. So there are certain sets of softwares that work best in tandem with this.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question because it's actually something that I wrote down because I know it came up in one of our networking sessions previously. So in terms of integration with, let's say, someone's accounting software, do you do anything with that, or would a person need to use the back-end data to pull information into their accounting software for whatever product that they've sold?
Correct. It's exports out of the back end with a CSV file and then imports into accounting systems. We see a wide range of accounting systems being used: QuickBooks, NetSuite, Sage. You can use whatever you want to, but the data is transferred with a CSV file into those softwares.
Gotcha. Okay. Next question is, who are your major competitors?
Yeah, I guess I can take that one. This software is used all over the United States, 40 different states, 8 different countries. So there's a different competitive landscape in every jurisdiction. In Illinois, we obviously deploy the government system. So this is a great fit for the licensees because nothing slips through the cracks. The integration is always solid, and it's the same system in which you're required to enter to. I'm not sure which ones are capable of integrating in Illinois, but there's definitely a lot of players in the seed to sale space. I think we do a very good job on, abiding by the requirements necessary for the state and just focusing on making our system as bulletproof as possible.
Okay, next question. And I think this is a follow-up to something you said, one of you said before about the transporters. Would we be considered standalone if we have a license number? So, Karshina, you can probably type in chat, or if I'm wrong, but what I think she's asking is, well, if we have a transporter license as a standalone, then they could be considered a standalone and still would not be using Biotrack at all.
Well, the definition for the standalone would be that they only and solely hold transporting license privileges, meaning they do not cultivate, grow, process, and not touch the product in any other way other than transport. And yes, they will be considered standalone. Again, whether you're a cultivator, producer, processor, or a transporter, each entity, each organization will have its unique UBI, which I mentioned in my demo, the unique business identifier, and a license number. So those two unique identifiers will represent an entity or an organization.
Now, if a person has multiple licenses, does that mean, if they have all three or if they have 2 of the 3? then the license number information that would be in the UBI would be the same, or how does that work?
So 3 separate licenses means 3 separate UBIs and 3 separate license numbers.
Okay.
To answer simply and short, easiest way.
Okay. Okay, next question is lab testing integrated? For example, will we receive results through Biotrack?
The answer is yes, absolutely. The laboratory license holders are also Biotrack state tracking system users. So yes, it is integrated, and the results, as soon as they're entered or modified for any reasons from the entry point, will be received through Biotrack through synchronization process.
Great. Next question. What POS hardware is most compatible with your product?
Yeah, I can take that one. We'll send over this list, and this outlines all the equipment that's compatible with it. One detail there is you said point of sale hardware. So if this is being used at a dispensary, there's maybe different sets of equipment, all-in-one type retail environment processors. At a grow, it may look like laptops or tablets. We are primarily Windows-based.
Okay. And then next question, and I believe this is the final question, unless somebody is typing right now. Is this system used to track and ensure compliance with the state requirements that limit the percentage of sales between cultivators and dispensaries?
I believe what that question may be referring to is what we call a 40% rule. And I believe that is how it's stated within the state regulations as well. So the system doesn't require or limit the licensee from being able to sell or purchase any specific percentage between the cultivator and dispensaries. However, I should definitely notate that the State Department has all of the means to accurately track and be able to impose the percentage of sales between the cultivator and dispensaries. So the data is being reviewed each day, so that the State Department has all the tools needed to implement and impose on that 40% rule.
Okay. Another question did come in. Next question, do you all work with any minority vendors?
Yes, we do. We have a vendor within the state of Illinois, which are a minority vendor that we work with, and we've actually worked with a few, but currently we only have one that we work with.
Okay. Are there any other questions? If so, please go ahead and get those typed up and sent over as soon as possible. So I'm going to kill a little bit of time, because as typically what happens is I think we're done and somebody types a question and somebody just types a question. For what service does the minority vendor provide?
Of course. So the services that they provide is translation for the database. So they translate our software into 3 different languages. So translation.
Okay. So no other questions in the queue at this moment. So for those of you who chimed in late, there are 3 additional, actually they're going to be 4. But for right now, there are 3 additional webinars that we'll be planning for November. They are another cannabis banking webinar specifically with Credit Union One, because they do have a footprint in Illinois. The cannabis banking webinar we have coming up on November 4th is specifically with Safe Harbor Banking. It's about cannabis banking in general and what to look for in a cannabis bank. Safe Harbor has been in the industry since the beginning in Colorado. They do not have a footprint in Illinois unless it's someone who they're already working with somewhere else. So this is strictly educational, but probably the best because they're not trying to sell you anything. So the one with Credit Union 1, we're going to be doing, I believe it's November 10th. And so more information about that one will be posted to the website within the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll also be doing one on best practices for taxes, accounting, and legal issues. That's going to be on November 19th. And then we have a third one. I just had that conversation earlier today. So the third one is going to be about the pending litigation that's happening right now with both the dispensaries and with the craft grower and infusers. So definitely one that people will want to know about if you're trying to figure out what's going on, what may happen, what's expected to happen, and just try to get the latest news on what to watch for with the litigation, because obviously the lawsuits are impacting everyone's licenses, not just the people who who filed the lawsuits. So I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to hear some information about the pending litigation directly from one of the attorneys that's involved in litigation. So that is it. I do not see any other open questions. So I just want to thank Soren and John for taking the time to present to us. And for those of you who might have come in a little bit late, we did record. So we will be sending out the link to our Dropbox where we put the recording. So you'll be able to access that later. You can share with your team members if you so need. And if there's anything else that you need from us, as always, send us an email. You know our email address, cannabis@thetrepschool.com. Obviously, we're helping people with one-on-ones. We can be helping people with their deficiency notices if and when you receive them. Obviously we've heard that they're coming. I haven't heard of anybody getting one yet. So we're keeping our eyes peeled. Any information that we have or that we get, we'll share it as soon as we know it. So that's all I have for today. John or Soren, did you have anything else that you'd like to add before we close up?
I don't think so. Just thanks again for everyone that attended. Write down our contact info if you need anything. And thank you so much, Trisha, for putting it together.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for making yourselves available.
Of course.
Okay, everyone. Well,
thank you.
Have a great day.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.